Hello, my loves, and welcome to the Balance CEO podcast. Today, we're talking about embracing change. So, I see so often people are too scared what other people think to make changes in their life. So, if you listen to last week's episode, you'll know that I have made the decision to close the Wellness Haven to the public. And that's a massive change. Like, I spent fucking months building that. I went through so many processes to get to where, to get to even opening the space, like going through council and building it and getting equipment and making huge investments, like $60,000 investments to more. Like, there's $60,000 worth of equipment, and there was thousands and thousands of dollars spent on just getting it to the point where it is. And then to throw that all away, quote unquote, like, I'm not throwing it all away. I have $60,000 worth of equipment that can be moved to anywhere I want at any point in my life. If I move house or if I decide later on that I want to open something in town or whatever, it's there. So yes, it was a hard decision. It was not easy, but fuck, I feel good for having made that decision. And the thing, people say, oh my God, you move so fast, and, there's just so many things going on in your life, and you're always making changes, and you're always doing this, and what are you doing now? And that's because I fucking move quickly. I don't sit on a decision for weeks and weeks or months and not be able to make it. I just go, this isn't working. These are the facts. This is what I know now. This is where I want to be, and it's not working. So it's got to go. And that is why that's why so many opportunities come to me, and so many changes happen in my life, and so many amazing things happen, because I'm not scared to make the change or make the decision to make a big change, like closing the Wellness Haven. Me leaving a 7-year relationship to the father of my child was such a fucking huge decision to make. It was a massive change. It literally changed my whole life for the better, but I didn't know that that was going to happen. It was scary. Like, we had investments, we had, 7 years worth of like properties, and there was so much to take into consideration. And yes, it took me quite a while to make that decision, because obviously there's a child involved, there's properties involved, there's another person involved. Like, there was a lot to take into consideration. But I see so many people stuck in fucking unhealthy, toxic relationships, and they're staying for the kids, they're staying for the money, they're staying for the investments, they're staying for the properties. No, like, learn to make decisions fast. You have one fucking life. One life. And like, if you've got, massive goals, or like you quite often find yourself thinking about how things could be different, the only way for you to get to that is by making some hard and fast decisions, is by embracing change. Change is fucking scary. I'm in a stage right now where I don't actually know what my future looks like. I know what I want in life. I know what the big goals are, but to get there in the next, 2 to 5 years, I'm unsure what that looks like. And I've had to sit in a lot of like, just surrendering to, this is what my life is right now. I thought I'd had my whole life mapped out a year ago. Like, I was like, yep, I'm going to run a co-working space. I'm going to run a wellness space. I'm going to have a villa in Bali. This is going to be my empire. It's going to bring me all this wealth. Like, this is going to bring me the success. No, that's just not the case at all. Like, I thought it was, and it wasn't. Do I regret any of it? No, because I fucking learned so much. Am I going to stay with something that's not working? Also, no, absolutely not. Like, and so many people care too much about what other people think. I could sit here and go, and let my ego run the show and go, I'm not going to close this wellness space because of what other people think. Because they might go, oh, shame. She built 2 businesses last year, and she's closing, she closed one of them, and now she's closing another. Like, shame. What a failure. Like, fuck that. I'm doing way more than anybody sitting on the couch, or anybody that's thinking about doing the thing but not actually implementing and not actually taking action. And it's never ever a failure. Like, I always say, nothing is a failure if you've learned something. Like, I have learned so much. Like, I didn't have an operations manager. I didn't have a PA. I didn't have a social media marketing person. I did fucking every single thing on my own. I learned so much. I learned systems. I learned how to run a business. I learned how to deal with clients. I learned what it's like to build a physical space. I will never, ever regret going through that process of building these businesses in the past year. And I'm also not regretting closing them either, because they weren't working. The financials didn't add up. The facts were there. It's not working. So we've got to move on. And like right now, I'm just following the breadcrumbs of my life. I'm following the opportunities that are coming to me. I'm unsure if that's what, the end goal is, or what the big thing is, or what's going to make me a multimillionaire. I don't know that, but I'm following these opportunities. Like, for example, I'm sitting here in my lounge. I don't have a podcast studio anymore or an office. I've moved my office space into the lounge. I've moved my podcast chairs into the lounge because I want to get a flatmate. If I'm going to be, running these events and, sorry, not running, filming content for events and going away and filming for accommodation and, not being home all the time, I need somebody here to watch the house. I need somebody to look after my dog. So I just made the decision, right, I'm going to get a flatmate. I didn't sit on it and go, oh, I'll just wait. I'll just see if it gets busy. I'll just see if I actually get these bookings. Like, no. I'm out there, putting myself out there, talking to people, getting in front of people, sharing content. Like, I want these jobs. I want these opportunities that are coming. So I don't want to be stuck with, fuck, I've got no one to look after Scylla. I've got no one to watch my house. So then I've got to, not go for this job or not be able to take this opportunity. Like, no, I'm putting systems in place now so that when that does happen, it comes to me so much easier. I can just up and leave. I can pack my bag and go, and that's because I move really fast and I'm not afraid of change. So many people are afraid of change, but they're also scared to be in the same spot as they are right now in 12 months' time. Like, you've got to get used to things feeling fucking icky. Like, right now things feel pretty icky for me. I'm like unsure what my future holds, unsure, I just don't know right now. I'm not sure if where I'm going is actually going to be this massive thing, but I'm just surrendering to these opportunities. I'm seeing what comes up. I'm sitting in the unknown. I'm embracing the changes. Like, this is a big change, not having an office and sitting in my lounge room, like not having podcast chairs and sitting at my office chair. Like, it's not a problem, but it's a change. But so many people sit on these decisions and dwell on making changes for such a long time. And the most successful people that you'll ever meet take action so quickly. They look at the facts, they look at the stats, they, look at what's working and what's not, and they go, okay, we need a shift. They don't sit and think about it. They just go and fucking do the thing. Like, just go and do the thing. Unhappy in your marriage? Fucking leave. I'm a better mum by not being with my ex-partner. I'm a better person by not being with my ex-partner. My life is exponentially better by not being with my ex-partner. I could have stayed in that relationship. I could stay with the Wellness Haven, but I tell you what, since making the decision that I was going to close to the public, there have been opportunities, money, events, like things that have come up, time with my family, better experiences with Willow, like going away, experiencing life. Like, I've experienced more life in the past 2 weeks than I have in the past 6 months because I've made the decision to actually step away from something that is not working. I didn't sit there and dwell on it and think what other people were going to think. I just went, okay, not working. That's cool. I'm glad that I did it. It didn't work out. It's still going to sit there. It's not a loss. Nothing's a failure. And now we move on to the next thing. And I'll take you back to a time when I first discovered breathwork, and I went to my first breathwork journey, and I had, the most amazing, mystical, magical experience with things to do with my mum. And then I also had this like overwhelming feeling that I had to quit my job in real estate. I'd been in real estate for 8 years. I'd worked my way up the ladder. I wasn't an agent. I was a PA/operations manager for 2 very highly successful agents, one who went from Rookie of the Year in the first year we worked together to being top 5% in New Zealand because I was on her team. I thrived in that environment. I was really fucking good at my job. I really loved who I was working for at the time, but I just had this overwhelming feeling, this is not your path. And I'd never had that before, ever. I just got this overwhelming feeling, right, this is not your path. Took me 2 weeks to leave my job. I had no idea what I was going to do next. Absolutely no clue. I was just like, I know that this is the right decision I need to make. I'm not going to fucking sit here and dwell on, the pros and cons and what am I going to do next? And I sat in the unknown for about 6 months. I didn't know what I was going to do. I went and did a in-between job. I was working for my dad, helping them with their social media and building a website and doing stuff like that for his surf shop. But I knew that that wasn't my thing. And I was just waiting for the opportunity to come. And then the first facilitator training course came out for the breathwork event that I'd been to 6 months prior. And I applied and I got in. And then that was my journey for the next, 2-3 years. And had I have stayed in the real estate industry, I would have never had that opportunity. I would never be where I am right now had I not have made that decision to leave that job. I know how scary it can feel to go from or to try and make a decision of, okay, this brings me safety, this brings me finances. But if it doesn't bring you joy and you are sitting in something right now, a job or a career or a business, and you know it's not working and you know that your passion is actually in something else, fucking leave. I can guarantee you the universe has your back. Yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel really fucking icky for a while. The unknown is not a pretty place to be, but I tell you what, it's the only place that we change. It's the only place we grow. If we're constantly feeling safe, we're not growing. There's no moving forward in a place where there's no change and you're constantly, just feeling safe in where you're at. Oh, I'm just going to stay here because it's a safe job. I'm just going to stay here because I can't be bothered going through the ordeal of going through a separation. Change will change your life. The more you get used to being in the unknown, the more you get used to being, in this stage of, I don't know what's next. I don't actually know what life has in store for me. I'm not sure, but I'm fucking gonna sit here and find out. Fuck around and find out. Don't sit in something that you know is not worth your time, your energy, doesn't bring you joy, isn't what your purpose is at this stage of your life. I don't think we have one purpose personally. I think we have multiple purposes in different seasons of our life. At one point I thought breathwork was everything. At one point I thought the wellness haven was everything. I thought the co-working space was everything. No, we have different purposes in different stages of our life. And if you're listening to this and you know that you've got some changes to make, you've got some hard decisions to make, you've got to sit in some fucking uncomfortable situations or conversations, it is so much better on the other side of that. It is so worth having that conversation. And I can almost guarantee you that you thinking about doing the thing or thinking about having the hard conversation or making the decision or making the change is taking so much more energy from you than you actually going and doing the thing. And you will feel so much better after you actually do it. It is probably, if you're feeling like you're being weighed down, you feel stuck, things aren't in alignment in your life, like you just don't know where to go or what to do, or things just feel icky. I can guarantee you that once you make that decision, once you make that change, you will feel like a freer, lighter, better version of yourself. Yes, you've got to go through that icky stage. I had to fucking sit in 6 months of shit after separating from my ex. I was heavily involved in drugs and alcohol, and I made the decision to leave the relationship and go sober for, I didn't know how long. It ended up being 12 months. And I went and rented this beautiful Airbnb that I could barely afford. I was, I'd been studying for so long. I didn't have a wage. I used to be the breadwinner and then I wasn't. So I didn't really have like a lot of finances coming through, and no shame. I was on the single parent benefit. They, were helping me pay my rent, which was pretty much everything that I got every week. But I went, I'm going to make this change. I need to be in a place where I feel safe, where I can heal. And that's literally what I did. I didn't have fuck all money, and I sat in this space for 12 months and I healed myself. I started coming out of it after about 6 months. That's when I started like going out and doing more, dating, things like that. But those 6 months, I went completely sober for the first time in my life. The only other time I'd ever been sober was through my pregnancy. And then at, 3 months old, I went back to the same shit when she was 3 months. So that was massive. That was a huge change for me to go from the lifestyle that I was living to then going, nah, I need to sit in this shit. And you might have to sit in some shit for a while, but the other side of that is so fucking beautiful. And if you've followed my journey for a while, you will see how much of a different person I am from who I was 5 years ago compared to who I am now. My life is completely different. I am not the same person because I had to make some really fucking hard decisions. And that is just the process of life. That is just what we sometimes have to go through to get to the other side. It's not always going to be fucking love and light. You can't always be up here. There is going to be low times where things feel like shit, but the other side of it is so fucking beautiful. So if you've got a change that you know that you need to make, if you've got a decision you know you need to make, if you know there's a hard conversation that needs to be had, go and do it, because the other side of it is better than you can even imagine. All right, I will see you in the next episode.